Hey there, friends. How's it going? My name's Popeye, and we got some more Umineko for you. I don't think I didn't see that subscription, Samus's. I swear it was just like 2 weeks ago you did your last subscription. So I don't know how you're gaming the system, but stop with extra subscriptions. We got multiple letters, that's why it's fan mail. We gotta read multiple letters. But before we dive into what happened last time and why we have multiple letters, some trigger warnings for this game. Umineko has some pretty mature themes, including but not withstanding death, murder, mutilation, torture, child abuse. This arc seems to have a lot of child abuse, so that's something that you are sensitive to. This whole arc seems to have a lot of that, unfortunately. A superfluous amount, I would say. And any of those above against a minor. If that's not something that you're feeling today, please by all means find some other place to hang out tonight. How am I doing? Ticket and mugshot notwithstanding. I'm doing alright. Yeah. Ticket was just annoying. And I did pay it. I was parked or stopped where I shouldn't have been, so I wasn't like mad about paying the ticket so much as I was mad about how they treated me. Anyways, don't want to drag anyone down with that tangent. Other than that, just been busy. Work has been lots of work, and will continue to be lots of work for the next probably 2 weeks at the very least. Because then I'm going to be on vacation. So this is also your note that there will be. So this stream, obviously we're here next week. Should still be here, and then I'll be off for at least 3 weeks. So, and coming back on that 4th week, I'll be here, but I do have something on Friday. So probably I will try to find another day that week to stream. Wednesday evening might be a possibility. This is way out in August. I'll be sure to post that on Discord as well as all my socials when I figure out what exactly that's going to look like when I get back. Also, what is anti-scold spray, and where can I purchase all of it so that no one else can have it? But yeah, last time, Umineko. What did we do? I'm trying to remember what happened, actually. Well, the storm started, and we went out to see Maria. I think we'd already seen Maria. Let me open up the characters. Maybe that'll help jog my memory. Oh, Beatrice is there, and it's made perfectly aware that all the servants know her. And I think it was it Kyrie at dinner kind of asked, like, hey, who's this extra special guest? The fact that they are like extra special means they are above the family, so they're thinking it could be like another daughter of Kinzo that he had an affair with this Beatrice, or a granddaughter, something of that nature. And they're worried that she's come in here to assert her claim for a part of the inheritance. And their worry is that, especially if they want to kind of split between, say, Kinzo and his wife and Kinzo and Beatrice's kids, that maybe all their shared, that it'll be like half to one spouse, half to his mistress. So then instead of each of these people getting a fourth, they now get half of that, they then get an eighth. And they're very worried about money. So they're having a discussion about money. The kids aren't super jazzed about the money portion. And so let's see what I can see back in the message browser. Oh yeah. So because of that, all the kids end up going
かしこまりました。
You don't need to keep repeating whatever line that is. All the kids end up going back to the room and basically just left with the direct kids and their spouses. So the core 7 here, and I think Goda's still... Oh no, Goda is tasked with bringing the kids their dessert because they just interrupted dinner and told all the kids to get out. Nanjo's also like, well, I'm not family, so I'll just get out of your hair. And some of the servants are then assigned to stay with the kids as well. And Beatrice, alright, now I remember what it started with. It started with Canon first visiting Beatrice, where Canon was giving her lunch. And we learn that there is a hierarchy to these servants. So it's not age, it's not even how long they've lived, they've like worked there, although that is part of it. It starts with who is allowed to wear the one-winged eagle. If you look at the characters, 3 of them are. Genji has it very prominently here. Shannon has it tattooed on her thigh like a mad woman. And Canon has it maybe a bit more sensibly on his collar. And Goda does not have it. He's only worked here a little bit. Kumasawa, who's worked here a very long time, but maybe she's too impish, shall we say, to have really gotten on Kinso's good side, also does not have it. So the order goes, whoever has the eagle is immediately above anyone who doesn't have the eagle, and then it goes in terms of seniority. So it goes, Genji is considered the highest level servant, then Shannon, and then Canon, and then I assume it would go Kumasawa because she has seniority, and lastly it would be Goda. Although those two, it's not as clear. So because of that, when you have a VIP guest like Beatrice, they want the highest ranking servant to go to them, unless someone needs to attend to the master, Kinso. So at lunch, Genji is busy, Shannon is busy, I can't remember what she's doing. So Canon goes and gives her lunch, and he's trying to confirm, is this the same Beatrice? Hello, Aoden. Is this the same Beatrice who we met before and who tricked my sister into this relationship she's in? He basically confirms it. And Beatrice is trying to break his spirit, saying, like, this is, I'm here, I'm about to provide the golden age, all you servants should be happy, it's, your day of freedom that's coming up. I'm going to release you because I'm going to kill everyone, and then you can join me in the golden realm. And Canon tries to pretend that he's happy, but at some point realizes, I'm not happy because I know my sister Shannon is not going to take this well because of her relationship with George. And Beatrice says that, if we look at the epitaph, on the second night, a pair is killed. And Beatrice says very explicitly, the pair could be any married couple, so we've got 3 married couples here, or any pair that's in a romantic relationship, Shannon and George. I guess other ones could be siblings. Shannon and Canon could be an option. Probably those are the only options. So Beatrice basically says, hey, it's going to be George and Shannon, unless you get on the ground and lick my boots. Which Canon eventually does do. And then Beatrice says, okay, if you can have Shannon break up with George, I won't kill her. I'll make sure that she is one of the people that I don't kill until the very end, and she makes it all the way to the golden realm. So Canon tells Shannon this, and Shannon then goes to serve Beatrice dinner, because she is the second, so she outranks Canon in terms of that, and Genji needs to give Kinzo his dinner. So Shannon goes there and tells Beatrice, how about no? I'm not giving up my relationship to save my life for you. And Beatrice is enjoying both Shannon and Cannon's kind of resilience and eventually watching Cannon break down, and I think she's looking forward to either making Shannon break down, or maybe George break down, or just killing them both and seeing how they try to get out of it. What is it your job to do if not write the code? Also, it works on my machine. Must be a problem with your machine. Yeah, so we see the one letter, but we still have the other letter that was given to Rosa that hasn't been opened yet. You can always add uwu, just like define something as uwu and then have it as an alias for something else. You could define uwu equals true, and then every time you want like a ternary or something where you're checking for true or assigning true, you assign it as uwu. There you go. And oof is false, just so you have three characters for both. So I think we're at the point now where all the kids are kicked out of the mansion. They're back in their bedroom. What you do in a database is a bunch of not null fields, but the scripted task with adding rows. Normally what I would do, assuming that that column should be not null, and that inserting nulls into that is fine because it's, let's say you're adding like a temporary password field or something, or a reset password or something like that, where it's fine if it's null at the start, but after that it should never be null. What we normally do in a SQL migration script would be disable the not null check, add all those pieces, and then re-enable it at the end. Same thing for foreign key constraints. Sometimes if you want to like nuke a database or nuke something as part of your script, like clearing your test, like clearing all your test data out, you just remove all foreign key constraints, truncate everything, and then re-add them in at the end. That's usually what we do. Alright, so let's see what the kids have to say. Hideyoshi's claim that advertising doubled the taste was apparently right. Kids and Nanjo that had been chased out of the guest house have gathered in the... I'm glad we brought Nanjo with us. So it's 4 kids and like a 60-year-old man just all enjoying dessert in their bedroom. We're eating the cake that Kumasao had brought there for dessert. It was both wonderful and high class, with lavish amounts of cream and decorated deliciously with fruits. Even though it was delicious, for some reason it didn't taste quite as good. Just remember, kids, your dessert's made out of mackerel.
このケーキもサバの絞り汁に小麦粉と卵を混ぜて焼き上げるとふっくら焼き上がるのでございますよ。
それが本当ならすごいね。
I mean, I'm sure some place makes a fish cake, and I'm sure it is yummy.
お父さんの店の新メニューにサバケーキとか登場するかもしれないよ。
サバって栄養満点でヘルシーっぽいイメージがあるしよ。女性とかお年寄りに人気が出たりしてな。俺は食わねえけどよ。
女はそんなゲテモノは食わねえぜ。
年寄りも遠慮したいところですな。
美味しいんですけどね。
Kumasao was really raising the mood for the mackerel jokes that were her specialty. The sound of the downpouring rain invariably focused their concern on the mystery guest. In the end, they ended up showering Maria with questions again, since she was the only person here to have met Beatrice.
まさかあの話が本当だったとはね。
その口ぶりだとマリアが魔女に会ってたって話は信じてなかったまでにも
You say this in front of
初耳
Maria,
じゃ
you're
ねっ
just
て
gonna
ことら
piss
しい
her
な。
off again.
ああ、夢見がちなお年頃のよくあるおとぎ話くらいに思ってたぜ。
There it is.
ベアトリーチェはいる。毎年親族会議に来るたびにマリアは会って一緒に遊んでた。
そうですね。ベアトリーチェ様は普段はお姿をお見せになりませんけど、心が綺麗で素直な方の前にはひょっこり姿を現していたずらをすることもあるそうですからね。
Beatrice was a name which referred to the being in the fairy tale about the Rokenjima witch. Because the family and the servants publicly accepted the image of the witch out of Kinzo's delusions to keep him in a good mood, it became established as a Rokenjima fairy tale, or maybe a ghost story. The family members who knew that history, the fairy tale of the Golden Witch, didn't have much substance. However, they hadn't been able to say that in front of Kinzo. For those who didn't know the history, like young Maria for example, it definitely wasn't unsubstantial, but a real legend of a witch. So Maria believed in the legend of the witch. She swallowed it whole. That was natural for an imaginative girl who believed in witches. So no one said anything to betray her dream. Except every single person here who says she doesn't exist and that you didn't need her and that you're lying. But sure, no one said anything to betray her dream. Except maybe George. George has been pretty good about it. On the contrary, they arranged things together to get her excited about her dreams.
だからマリアちゃんがベアトリーチェにもらったお菓子と言って僕らに見せびらかすことがあっても、多分誰かがそういうことにしてマリアちゃんの手提げの中にこっそり飴玉でも忍ばせたのだろうって思ってた。
私も昔に2度か3度そういうふりをしてこっそりお菓子を置いてあげたことがあります。おそらく熊沢さんにも、いや使用人の皆さんや後ろ宮家の皆さんも1度や2度はあるんじゃないでしょうか。
無邪気な小さい子が喜ぶなら口裏を合わせてお菓子を置いてくこともあるか。ってことはジョージの兄貴なんかだいぶやってそうだな。
まあね。
Admitting that would probably be unrefined. George admitted it while being extremely wary that Maria didn't find
つま
out.
りサンタクロースみたいなもんか。子供の夢を守るために
Yeah, let's just ruin this for Maria too. Let's just ruin
寝静まっ
Santa
た
for
こ
her
の
as
枕
well.
元に
Let's
プレゼン
just
トを置い
go.
ていたと。
子供の夢って守ってあげたいし、私は当然サンタなんていないってとっくに知ってるわけだけ
And
ど、
the Tooth Fairy. People forget about the Tooth Fairy.
もし覚めなくてもいい夢だったなら
You don't want to
一
forget
生
about
信
the
じ
Rock.
ていたかったぜ。
世の中は世知辛いばかりだと知ってしまうから、大人はせめて子供の綺麗な夢を守ってやりたいと思うものです。
ベアトリーチェはいるの。
Maria doesn't care about Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy. Take care, Aoden. Have a good evening.
いますとも。ベアトリーチェ様はおりますよ。この前もですね、サバを干して紅茶の出汁に
I was
使
trying
おう
mackerel
として
to
おり
make
ま
some
したら、
tea.
そこへひょっこり。
まあつまりこういう調子だったはずなんだけどね。
つまりマリアを除けば誰も信じてなかったはずの魔女ってわけだ。
少し言葉が足りないね。信じてなかったんじゃない。信じさせてあげようとしたんだ。
This was about not betraying a child's innocence. But Santa doesn't exist in reality. Take that, Santa. You can't burn my house down in reality. if you don't want them to be all disappointed when they learn that, you should just not give them the dream in the first place. Did I think like that because I was still a long way from becoming a full adult? Battler had finally attained a level of understanding about the true form of the Rokenjima witch. But the current situation lay on an even higher level of understanding than that, and overturned all its premises.
という認識だったはずの魔女のベアトリーチェ様が実際に現れちまったと。そういうことか。しかもだ、おじさんたちの騒ぎを見る限りどうも招かれた客でもないらしい。こりゃ面白そうな話だぜ。
ベアトリーチェという女性が実在しないという前提は実は存在しない。ルドルフおじさんも言っていた悪魔の証明そのものだよ。ベアトリーチェと名乗る女性の存在を僕たちは誰も知らなかった。でもだからといってそれがベアトリーチェが実在する可能性を否定できるわけじゃない。
南條先生はじいさまとの付き合いが長いですよね。
一時期親族会議でクラウスさんたちに随分と聞かれた話ですな。その昔金蔵さんにベアトリーチェという愛人がいて、その隠し子がいるのではないかという話です。
How is Nanjo gonna know that? Unless we got some like STD action going on here.
なるほどな。親父たちは遺産分配で頭がいっぱいだ。そこに愛人の娘なんてのが現れれば面倒なことになるのは火を見るより明らかってわけだ。
クラウスさんたちも最初は源氏さんに聞かれたのでしょう。しかし源氏さんは金蔵さんに忠誠を誓う側近で、多分私よりも金蔵さんが心を許す親友です。源氏さんは多分何も語らなかったのでしょう。それで次に古い友人である私の方に話を聞こうということになったのでしょうな。
で結論として南條先生、じい様にベアトリーチェという愛人はいたんすか？
おりました。いえ、私は会ったことはありませんぞ。ですがそういう女性と交際があったと金蔵さんから聞かされたことはありました。相当昔にお亡くなりになられたそうで。
死んだ？その間に子供がいたとか？
それは分かりません。ただ金蔵さんはベアトリーチェを蘇らせるために研究をしていると普通は愛人を失い忘れがたみがいたならばそちらにその分の愛情を注ぐものです。ですから金蔵さんとベアトリーチェの間に子供はいなかったろうと私たちは自然に考えました。
ってことはそれも悪魔の証明になっちまうな。
なるぜ。愛人との間に子供がいなかったことは証明不能。現にこうして現れた以上いたってことになっちまうわけか。
少し暴力的な理論だね。後宮家の遺産問題でトラブルが生じていることを聞きつけ、何者かがおじい様の大昔の愛人関係を知り、それを装って遺産問題に食い込もうとしているとかの方が現実的だよ。
現実的ではある。しかし本当に彼女が隠し子で、しかもその上じい様に顧みられなくて孤独に生き復讐に帰って。
復讐？なんだよそれ。
ああ、すまんすまん。男なんだよ。ついつい面白そうな方に脚色しちまうぜ。妙なドラマの見過ぎだな。
Normally that would have been a light joke, but it had come when a mystery guest calling herself Beatrice, who no one had invited, had marched in on the day of the family conference, the day of the inheritance distribution discussion, which even without the witch was threatening to become a bloodbath. There's no way that Battler's joke would be welcomed with laughter. It was a really big help when Nanjo laughed energetically to calm everyone down.
なるほどなるほど。それはなかなか面白そうですな。そんな筋書きの小説をぜひ読んでみたいものです。
まあ現実にはそんなことはできねえと思う。何しろよ、今この島には18人もいるんだぜ。妙なことをすればすぐにでも取り押さえられちまう。それに台風のおかげで島から逃げ出すこともできない。つまりとんでもない事件を起こそうにもどうにもならねえってことさ。
同感だね。退路の断たれた袋小路で、しかも十分怪しまれているような状況下で、そんな恐ろしい復讐劇なんかとてもできるとは思わないね。
でしょうな。ならば姿など現さずに暗躍しての復讐の方が現実味があるというものです。堂々と姿を現して仇討ちなど時代劇の中でしか考えられませんな。
わからねえぜ。復讐ってのは感情でやるもんだ。それこそ差し違えてでもなんて考えたら、別に警察も人数も退路がなくても何も怖くはないかもしれねえぜ。
大丈夫だよ、ジェシカちゃん。僕たちが想像するような物騒なことは何も起きないよ。
Just remember, kids, nothing as horrible as we imagine will happen. George is either lying or has a really messed up imagination.
遺産をめぐっておじさんたちがバトルロイヤルってのが物騒なことじゃねえってんならな。
そうだよな。父さんもルドルフおじさんも体格いいし、エヴァおばさんなんか格闘技習ってんでしょ。大丈夫だよね。
I mean, last time, 2 of those 3 were killed immediately. Jessica didn't say it, but she vaguely knows that her own father opposed all the other siblings regarding the inheritance. They acted like everything was good in front of the children, but when the pretense was lifted away, like it happened at dinner, it would become a tumultuous uproar. It's only natural that Jessica, realizing that, would be frightened that her father and mother had gotten into some kind of trouble. They're about to be sacrificed for something terrifying. Because they were.
だよな。ジョージの兄貴の言う通りだ。何も起こらねえよ。魔女様の名前を語ろうとも魔法も使えない人間の女が一人で何ができるってんだ。
I think you just like triggered some, like you just raised a flag with that one. We're getting Witch Maria. The sudden creepy laugh made all of us jump. We realized that the strange laugh was coming from Maria. We were shocked again.
そうなんだ。それがバトラの認識なんだね。
何かだよ。気色悪い声で笑うんじゃねえぜ。
バトラはベアトリーチェの存在をとりあえずは認めてる。19人目の客人程度には認めてる。でもそこまでだね。19人目のベアトリーチェが魔女であることは認めてないね。
突然何を言い出すかと思えばそりゃそうだろ。魔女なんているわけがねえ。それを語る人間の女しかありえねえだろうが。
あれおかしいよバトラ。それは悪魔の証明だよ。魔女なんているわけがねえ。でもそれはバトラが魔女に会ったことがないというだけで魔女の存在を否定することにはならないね。
そうだな。確かにそうだ。魔女がいねえを証明することはできない。しかし証明はできなくても主張はできる。魔女はいねえという俺の主張だ。
どうして魔女はいないなんて証明できないくせに主張できるの？
そんなものはいねえからだよ。
それで QED？ 何の証拠も根拠もなく証明終了？
I mean, sounds good to me. You put QED at the end of any argument, I think you immediately win.
無知が棚上げする時の典型例。暴力的思考停止だね。
When you're writing a mathematical proof, QED, it's Latin. I don't remember what it stands for, but basically it's saying like it's proven as per the above. I'm trying to think of what a simple example is. Oh, like you can prove that. Well, how does Maria know this? When she's in this form, I would say she is partially a witch as well, like an apprentice witch. She said she's been studying witch stuff with Beatrice, so I think she has like an alternate personality or form where she is kind of a witch. But if you're looking for like a really simple mathematical proof, the one off the top of my head, I can think of two off the top of my head. One is that 2 times any number is always even, and 2 times a number plus 1 is odd. So 2n is always even, 2n plus 1 is odd, and you can put down different examples to prove that. Or there's pigeonhole theory, which says if you have a certain number of, say, baskets, say 6 baskets and 7 basketballs, and you want to put each ball into a basket, because there's 1 fewer basket than balls, at least 1 basket will have 2 balls in it, or more. Those are simple mathematical proofs I remember from university. How does Maria know this? I don't know. She's just being witchy right now.
となりゃ答えは一つだぜ、マリア。魔女側の反証しかねえってことだろう。これまた悪魔の証明だ。連れてくりゃ話は早い。この場合はベアトリーチェと名乗るご婦人がお星様がキラキラ飛び散るような華麗な魔法をステッキででも披露して人間には不可能なことをやってみせればいいってことだろ。
ほら、お二人とも落ち着いてくださいな。
Kumasawa noticed the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. It seems the battler quickly realized that he was acting immaturely. Maria's expression didn't loosen. She kept staring at Battler as she laughed creepily.
マリアももうよせよ。機嫌直そうぜ。な。
Okay, you're cut off from the cake, Maria. It turns you into like a gremlin. We can't feed you after midnight.
それが望みなら、ベアトリーチェはきっと見せてくれるよ。人間には不可能なこと。そしたらバトラも信じるんだよね。ベアトリーチェのこと。
おう、そいつを拝ましてくれたら信じてやろうじゃねえか。
魔女とバトラの議論のチェスだね。
Maria knows about the chess match.
チェックメイトされたらバトラは魔女を信じる。
おお、洒落た例えだぜ。魔女が魔法を見せる。俺のキングにチェックをかける。俺は人間でも何らかの手段で再現可能だとイチャモンをつけてキングを逃がす。それができなきゃチェックメイトってのは確かにいい例えだ。
バトラ、
The chessboard is back. It has not changed.
チェスというのは相手も自分も同じ動きの駒を持ってる。だから相手の手も読める。でもね、相手の駒がバトラの駒よりさらに不思議な動きができることをバトラは今想定していない。魔女のはずないからとベアトリーチェの動かす駒の動きを自分とどうせ同じだと決めつけている。でもね、悪いけどバトラのチェスの相手は人間じゃない。魔女なの。人間にはさせない駒の動きができる。バトラは今そこの認識を間違えているの。バトラはキリエおばさんのチェス盤思考って好きでしょ？
ああ、相手の立場に立っての思考術ってやつを気に入ってるぜ。
だからダメなの。
I don't know if witches really play chess.
相手は魔女なのにバトラはそれを認めない。だから魔女のさせる手を理解できずチェス盤思考が通じない。相手の認識を間違えている。 チェス盤思考の一番最初の前提が崩れてる。
おお、そう来るかよ。
そなたは魔女とのチェスに勝てぬ。
Okay, we have a very specific thing here that I want to look up. It's not in tips, so let me quickly Google. It's probably a different way of saying you. So let me Google it. So according to Reddit, sonata, besides being the same musical type, was previously used as a lightly respected second-person pronoun. So a respectful way to say you. However, it is now often used when speaking to an inferior in a pompous and old-fashioned tone. So in other words, it's Maria looking down upon Battler.
「その後のことはわかりません。私たち使用人は食堂に近づくなと厳命されましたもので。」
なるほどね。それでシャノンはそのベアトリーチェという人物に以前会ったことはある？
わかりません。
It's a slightly odd way to say it. Thought it didn't sound like she meant her memory was vague.
私たち使用人にとってベアトリーチェ様はお屋敷のもう一人の主です。親方様に感化されてそうだと吹聴しているというふうにおっしゃる方もおられますが、私がここへ勤め始めた時からベアトリーチェ様の話はすでに囁かれておりました。
前に聞いたよ。敬わないと呪われたりして実際に事故に遭った使用人もいるんでしょ？
ええ、ただ信じる信じないに個人差があったのは確かです。私はそういうものには敬いを忘れないのが信条ですので、黄金の魔女というその不確かな存在がきっといるとおぼろげに信じていました。
それで実際にその不確かな存在の魔女が姿を現して堂々と玄関からやってきたということなのかな？
わかりません。私には何も。
シャノンは夕食を運んだ時に何か話はした？
いいえ、何も。
そっか。しかしご飯を食べる魔女というんじゃなんだかリアリティがないね。やっぱりこの島の魔女伝説を知る何者かがベアトリーチェの名を語っているだけなんだろうね。シャノンちゃんはベアトリーチェを多分お屋敷の守り神みたいに思って敬ってきた気持ちがあると思うんだよ。だからそれを名乗る人物が現れたので少し動揺しちゃったんじゃないかな。
そうですね。きっとそうなんじゃないかと思います。
George was slightly at a loss as what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Possibly, not just Genji, but also the young servants, including Shannon, had been strictly questioned about whether they had a clue as to who this person called Beatrice was, thinking that he had tried to cheer her up somehow. Like Marie and Jessica, Shannon too must be unable to completely hide her agitation over the sudden visit of a person calling herself the Golden Witch. He thought that must be the case, but George had no way of knowing what was in Shannon's heart. Shannon was bitter and sad, the door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that. That meant the demise of everything. Even if she accepted the ring from George, now they could never be married. No, in the first place, did furniture like her have the right to be married? Even if the witch hadn't come to tell of their demise, wasn't it fated to fail sometime or another? Hadn't she turned her gaze towards the fun days with George and purposefully closed her eyes to the sad reality?
どうしたんだい？さっきから本当に元気がない。
ジョージさん、婚約って何でしょうか？
結婚の約束をするという意味だよ。でも僕はその意味において結婚と同じものだと考えてる。本当なら僕は今すぐにでも君をめとって家へ連れ帰りたい。でも僕は今修行中の身でまだまだ自らの城を築き上げる力量がない。だからこそ一人前になって初めて胸を張って君を連れ帰りたいんだ。それは遠い未来の話じゃない。ほんの3年ほどを待ってほしいというだけの話なんだ。でも僕はだからといって3年間自分の気持ちを偽っていたくない。だから婚約指輪を贈ろうと決めたんだ。それは男として情けない理由かもしれない。妻と仕事を両立できないから待ってほしいなんて理由での婚約なんて情けないものかもしれない。でも僕は決して君を
ありがとうございます。ジョージさんにとって婚約指輪が恋人に贈るプレゼントの一つではないということが。
当然だよ。婚約指輪はただのアクセサリーじゃない。尊い約束を指輪の形で残す恋人たちの宣誓なんだ。
だとするとすぐにも結婚するなら不要なものということになりますよね。
その時は婚約指輪じゃない。結婚指輪として渡すよ。どちらにせよ君に指輪を贈ることに変わりはないのさ。
この女は俺のものだから誰も手を出すなよっていう。
いや、その
George knew about his shameful character. When he'd fallen for Shannon and sworn to become an excellent man, he'd sworn to part ways with that shameful part of himself. So he chose to answer a little roughly on purpose, believing that Shannon would find it reassuring.
いや、その通りかもしれない。さよ、君を僕の妻にする。他の誰にもやらない。僕だけのものにする。だから誰も手を出すな。そういう指輪だよ。間違いない。
ありがとうございます。ジョージさん、本当に嬉しいです。
And George's son, it was decided by fate that this engagement ring, that this promise would not be fulfilled, would you still give it to me? We got a clown car full of Twitch babies. Hello, Beardy. How's it going? Shannon was about to ask that, but she swallowed her words, as George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He'd said that to him an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting George's ring had a far more sacred significance than a promise to marry.
だから
Doing all right.
僕はあえてこれを婚約指輪と呼ぶのをやめにする。今からこれは婚約じゃない。結婚指輪だ。
いいのでしょうか。神様の祝福もなく私たちが結ばれたことを
I mean, you have Beatrice's blessing.
勝手に宣言してもいいのでしょうか。
神様も父さんも母さんも全て事後報告で十分さ。僕たちが2人は結ばれたと一方的に宣言する。それは誰にも覆せない。
ジョージさん。
I don't think that's how the government works.
僕は一時の感情で言ってるんじゃない。今だけの君を見て言ってるんじゃない。明日の君も明後日の君も、それこそ未来の老後の君すらも見据えて言っている。
いつもジョージさんが話していることですよね。元気な子供や孫たちに囲まれてゆっくりとした老後を過ごしたいって。
うん。その時僕の隣には年老いた君がいる。それを僕は予告、いや予言するよ。うん。必ずその日は訪れるから。
必ず訪れますか。信じてもいいですか。
うん。必ず、絶対。それを言葉でない形で証明する。
見せてください。
え、これさ。
George, thinking he was being told to show her the ring, hurriedly took out the ring box. Even though he'd practiced so much, he hadn't been able to look cool. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. The straight and direct gaze, with faint tears and a smile, he was staring right at George's eyes. No, into something she could see beyond his
私に
eyes.
その未来を見せてください。
You two are gonna die so hard in about 4 hours.
見せるよ。必ず約束する。老後までじゃない。死んだ後も、僕らは魂になってもずっとずっと一緒にいる。
Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring worth more than worthy of blessing the two of them. George said the line that had been practiced over and over again inside his head.
その指輪を好きな指にはめて、それを返事にしてほしいんだ。つまり明日の朝までに。
Shannon smiled, took the ring. With a completely natural movement, put it on the ring finger of her left hand. It really had looked like a very, very natural movement. For a while, George was stunned.
これが私のお返事です。
Please don't bring the Teletubbies onto this island. And even worse than that, the knockoff Teletubbies. The Belly Tubbies.
ジョージさん。
シャノン、いや、
魂になってもずっとずっと一緒です。
I mean, tell me those things don't have big bellies.
ジョージさん。
And sadly, I know from Chaos that's because they're all pregnant apparently and have kids. There's no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two of them to be married had proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today. Yeah, and now everyone remembers that the Teletubbies had sex. Happy Friday, everyone!
姉さんはバカだ。
そうかな。
家具のくせに、家具のくせに。
私家具じゃないよ、もう。
嘘だ。どうして自分を騙すんだよ。人間になんか絶対になれないって知ってるくせに。黄金鏡へ行かなきゃ人間になれないって知ってるくせに。なのにどうして黄金鏡へ生きる約束を自分で保護に。
You know, Kent, you could just find a different job. Like, if you wanted to be human, you didn't have to, like, wait for everyone to just get killed by a witch. You could have just found a new job.
そっか。指輪を受け取ったらベアトリーチェ様との約束がなかったことになっちゃうんだったね。ごめんね。
あとは僕も姉さんも ジョージ様も親方様もみんな条件は同じだ。
Someone's gotta do it.
13人が生贄にされる。5人しか黄金鏡に招かれない。
So only the last 5 get invited to the Golden Land. So last time that was the 4 kids. Who's the 5th? I don't remember. So let's see, you died. Is it Natsuhi? Maybe it was Natsuhi with the shotgun. It might have been her plus the 4 kids were the last ones. Or was it Rosa? Who fought Beatrice at the very end? Oh, Natsuhi? Okay. Yeah.
その一石を自分で蹴るなんて。
おかしいね。未練があるのはカノン君の方みたいだね。
Okay, so let's look at it this time. So I'm going with the assumption that Battler always makes it because he needs to witness the whole story to have a fair chess match. So if Battler is always there, George and Shannon seem like they're gonna die. Most of the adults are probably gonna die. I'm guessing Kraus, Rudolph, Kyrie are gonna die tonight. Goda's probably gonna die tonight. Maybe Cannon. No, it would be funnier for Beatrice if Cannon was alive to witness his sister dying. But he's probably gonna stay alive. Maybe Kumasawa? Or Nanjo? Yeah, she doesn't, because it was... I think in the first scene where we got pulled out of this to their chess match, she was like, yeah, I'm just doing like 4 or 5 moves at once. Don't worry, it'll be your turn soon.
未練があるのは姉さんの方じゃないか。婚約しちゃったんだろう。果たせない運命なのを知りながら。
ずっとずっと永遠に一緒だよって約束した。だからね、その瞬間に私たちの永遠は完成したの。たとえ私たちが生贄になってしまうとしても。だからいいの。未練があるのは。
This would be even funnier if this conversation was happening right outside of Beatrice's door, and they're like speaking loud enough through the door, like, "Hey, Beatrice, like, oh, it would be really bad if Shannon and George were to die now that they're engaged."
私たちは家具なんでしょ。私たちはどういう結果になろうとも解放される。なら黄金鏡に行けるか行けないかなんてどうでもいいことじゃない。なのにカノン君は黄金鏡へ行くことに固執してる。
I guess if people want, you can always post in the Discord and spoil your answers. So you could have, like, the unspoilered section being, I have a theory for, like, Kinzo's locked room, and then spoiler your thing. That way if people want to take a look at it and want to engage, they can. Also make sure any engagements are spoilered as well, appropriately. I guess we could also turn it into a thread. Because that way you should... Don't click into the thread if you don't want to know the spoilers. But, I mean, still spoiler stuff appropriately, but it would probably be better in a thread. If I make a spoiler channel, are people going to promise not to post pictures of car parts in it? Ugh. Dang it, threads.
どうしても人間になりたいんでしょ。
You make no such promises.
どうして？
人間になりたいからだよ。
If people start posting car spoilers, I might just post that chessboard picture every day.
家具はもう嫌だ。
どうして？
僕も。
I don't know if I said this last stream, but I saw a post, I think it was on Reddit, and it was someone who who didn't know how Umineko played out, but liked chess and knew that chess was like an important like imagery inside Umineko. Someone gave them all the chess moves and like references and whatever that happen and images that happen in the game, and they basically took all of those and tried to figure out like plot and like character development by assigning them like chess, like assigning each character a chess piece, or just like looking at it and being like, oh, it was this like series of moves that led to this checkmate, probably this kind of thing happened. Tears spilled from both of Cannon's eyes, and he
お
howled.
嬢様のことが好きだった。そしてあの日のお嬢様の姿を見てもっと好きになった。そしてお嬢様も僕のことが好きだと分かってすごく嬉しかっ
What would be a triple bluff?
た。でも僕は核で
Also,
お嬢様の気持ちを
for
受け止
people's
めることが
reference,
で
I
きなくて
have been reading the manga version of the first one. I wanted to see how close the manga version was to the visual novel, because I know the anime like is just not close at all. Actually, while I'm at it, let me see how many episodes, anime episodes, this current chapter was. I was very happy that they skipped basically everything at the airport and started with Battler already on the boat. One, I'm pretty sure ChatGPT straight up lied to me. Oh, didn't for that part. So the first arc is 5 episodes, which includes the post game scenes. And then this arc is 6 episodes. Third arc is 7. Fourth arc is 8. And they only do the first 4 arcs. They don't even cover the second set of arcs. It looks like it got discontinued.
それが勘違いだった。私たちは影かもしれない。人間以下かもしれない。でも恋をする資格がないわけじゃなかった。
添い遂げられぬ思いなら
So that means after the question arcs, we get to the answer arcs. There will be stuff that I've never seen before, assuming that they didn't kind of mix that up in with the episodes. They might have done that, where they took some of the answer arc stuff and kind of put it in there to answer questions, to make it seem like it had some kind of an
いつか
ending.
自分も消え去る日が来てそれがきっとお嬢様を傷つけるなんて勝手に決めつけて違うんだ。僕が怯えていただけなんだ。僕は永遠になれない恋ならしない方がマシだって怯えてただけなんだ。
セミは生涯のうち数週間にも満たないわずかな期間で恋をして消えていくんだって。数週間で終わる恋だからと恋をしないセミはいないんじゃないかな。
So Canon Jessica's happened next arc, right? It seemed that Canon was still speaking of his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up in his crying
魔女が
voice.
憎い。僕にどうしてこんな気持ちを植え付けて、あいつさえ妙ないたずらをしなければ。
ベアトリーチェ様はひどいね。カノン君にそうやって悔し泣きをさせるために運命をいたずらした。でも魔女の思惑は多分外れてる。だって
Knowing love isn't a lingering attachment that ties you to life. It is the place we should reach on our journey through life.
というわけだ、
I mean,
カノン。
Could work.
せっかくの約束はこれで遂行だな。
So Beatrice has changed back into her witchy outfit and just chilling in the rain.
さてさて、これにて全ての駒の条件は同じよ。駒は18。13人が生贄に捧げられる。生き残る5人は誰か。
So she still says 18 pieces, so she's not including herself, so she herself cannot be one of the sacrificed.
それとも誰かがこの儀式を打ち壊してみせるか。誰がどうやってこれはチェスプロブレムではない。対等なゲームだ。わらわだけが一方的に詰めるわけではない。そなたはわらわの爪から懸命に逃れ続け、引き分け無効試合に持ち込むことができる。
Gimp is a pain.
まあせいぜいそなたにできるのはそれを延々と繰り返すのが関の山よ。
I haven't touched Gimp in probably like 6 years.
そしておそらくそれはそなたにとってそう難しいことではあるまい。
Like how do you select just like one image that's on it?
しかしそなたは永遠に続く無効試合にやがて精神をすり減らし、やがては精神を殺す。
I mean, you could try like rectangular select copy paste. If that doesn't work, the easiest thing might just be to export and then import as a layer onto your other thing.
その時にこそ敗北を受け入れ、わらわに屈服することになるであろう。対等なゲームと言った理由、それはわらわにも敗北の条件を設けてあることだ。負けのないゲームほど退屈なものはないのでな。わらわを任す方法、それはわらわの肖像画に捧げられた。あれこそは黄金鏡の扉の開き方にして同時に儀式を打ち破る鍵でもある。わらわは碑文に従い儀式を完遂する。そなたは碑文の謎を解き儀式を打ち破りわらわを滅ぼす。碑文に隠された謎を解き、わらわが金蔵に値し莫大なる黄金のありかを暴いてみせよ。
So based on what she's saying, it's almost as if there's two parts of this. The first part, which is the actual puzzle we're trying to solve. And then the actual set of sacrifices, which is the second half. So in this case, it seems like the riddle is almost entirely in this top half. In fact, it might just be these first two, like, paragraphs.
こたびのゲームはどういう結末を見せるのやら。検討
Oh,
を期
she
待
switched
するぞ。
outfits again.
わらわを楽しませてみせろよ。後ろ宮バトラー。
Is it our turn yet? The chapel's a new room for us, I believe.
異論はない。私と夏日は認める。
信じられないし信じたくないけれど、それが現実なのね。
夏日、言葉を少し選びなさい。彼女は当家の最高の賓客なのだ。わしらも認める。グーの根も出えへん。
へえ、認めるわ。一遍の文句もない。まさか本当に素直にあなたに尊敬
Has
の念を覚
Beatrice
える
just proven that she's Beatrice to all the adults?
私もよ。すごいわ。純粋に尊敬する。だから認めざるを得ないわ。
俺も認めるぜ。未だに信じられねえ。
So at this point, assuming they're all talking to Beatrice, and this is probably this group of people, Maria's seen Beatrice, Shannon, Cannon, Genji have seen Beatrice. So Goda, Kumasawa, Nanjo, Jessica, George, Battler might be the only ones who haven't seen Beatrice at this point.
だがどうしようね。悪魔を証明しちまった。あんたの勝ちだ。
Yep, okay.
悪魔の証明はそなたが好む証明不能への便利な言い訳だったが。
Considering no one's died yet, there's no correlation yet.
いじめるなよ魔女様。俺はもうあんたを認めてるぜ。降参だ。
The only person who's not here right now is our stepmom. Here she is.
キリエ、まだ異論があるか？
If anyone's gonna have objections, it's going to be her.
わらわは全員一致しか好まぬ。お前一人がわらわの存在を認めぬならば。
As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started to panic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Kyrie lightly closed her eyes and after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth.
ごめんなさい、降参よ。
Only Kyrie had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, she had only been able to resist acknowledging the truth for a short time. The reality, the being that was before her eyes, couldn't be denied. The night can play out differently, so we've established that this night is different from the first set in a few ways. One, Beatrice is physically present. That was not something that happened the first time, except when she showed herself to Maria in the Rose Garden, when Maria was by herself. Also on this one, something that's changed is when Beatrice gives Maria the letter to read at dinner. She gives a second letter to Rosa, and we have yet to read the contents of that letter. Maybe that was what was just read here and we didn't see that. But yeah, basically what happened this time is Beatrice came out swinging where Battler's like, well, there was no 19th person, you gotta prove that you exist. So this time she's like, she walks in like, yeah, I'm here. Devils had already been
私
proven.
も認めるわ。あなたはベアトリーチェ、後ろ宮家の顧問錬金術師、そして偉大なる魔法の使い手、魔女であることを認めざるを得ない。
So remember what Battler had said to Maria about 30 minutes ago, where he said, you can't prove the negative of a devil's proof, therefore it is on Team Witch to prove that a witch exists and that Beatrice is a witch. Well, Beatrice is like, I can do that too. I've not used Krita. I don't even know if I pronounced that properly. Bring Panic in. We have to weigh them. If she weighs the same as Panic, she's a witch, right? Something that I've noticed is that painting, they have two different versions of it. They have one with Beatrice, as we saw last game, where she's in her big flowy dress, and then they have the one where she's in her current outfit. If it will let me pause and open the menu here. It does not yet let me pause and open the menu. Is it just establishing where everyone is right now? That seems like it's just establishing where everyone is at this moment in time. Oh, this outfit right here. More of like a prep outfit as opposed to this one. There. That's what I was referring to, where they showed this version of it. Does that have meaning? Is she like switching between the two in some sense? It's now 6 a.m. Dawn of the second day. 48 hours remain. So in this arc, Beatrice has not appeared to Kinzo. She tried to go to Kinzo, but Kinzo has the scorpion on the doorknob. So that's another thing that was proven in this, is that the scorpions on the doorknob do keep Beatrice out. We kind of theorized that the other time when Natsuhi had the blood stains and scratch marks outside of her door and didn't die, and instead I think Shannon ended up being the sacrifice. But yeah, Genji and Beatrice go to Kinzo's room. She puts her hand on it, and we see it starts, well, we don't see, but it's described that it starts eating away the flesh at her hand. And Genji offers to open it for her to let her in, and she goes, no, this is just one of many charms and wards he has against me. It's not worth my time. And if it's the next day, I'm guessing people have died, and we're going to find out very shortly. What was the sound that always filled the ears? The sound of rain, the sound of a waterfall? Or was it radio static? In that case, I want to be the sound of blood flowing through the body. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating through my body, telling me that I am still alive.
Asa nanoka.
The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but it at least told him that dawn had broken. Kinzo, still in the same pose he had when he awoke, was sitting in his chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he woke up at exactly this time as though he had measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think that something like this was worthy of boasting of. He told himself that while he could still do something like this, he was still in robust health.
朝を迎えたという、どうやら最初の生贄は逃れたということらしい。ルーレットの目が幸運だったのか、我が努力の賜物なのか。
So the question then being, Kinzo's implying that he would have been one of the initial sacrifices last time. If we look at the epitaph, 6 are killed immediately. And then the 2... And I can't remember, he was one of these ones. And then he was burnt. So he lived longer than the 2 who were killed the next morning, early afternoon.
区別のつかぬところがなんとももどかしいが、それは。
But we didn't get this last time. We didn't get this scene. This is just Kinzo talking to himself. Maybe one of the servants is there. Kinzo was very slightly driven by a temptation to look at the other side of the study door. Because he thought that maybe he might find traces of a vain struggle to break the door, made by something trying to select him as one of the first 6 sacrifices.
人間とは安っぽい生き物だな。人事を尽くして天命を待ちながら幸運を得られた時にはそれが単なる幸運ではなく己の技量によるものだったとうぬぼれたくもなる。
So we wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. That is only human. Therefore, Kinzo did not check. He repressed the things that he wanted to do because he was human. By that, Kinzo could immerse himself in a feeling of sufficiency, as though he'd become a being that surpassed humans. He became aware of human desire and forbade it. Things that a human want to do, he resisted, except drinking his sweet, sweet liquor. That part he doesn't resist at all. What? What happened? This eccentric and rebellious sense had surely given him a rare genius. Also, I just realized I forgot to start 2 things. Luckily, it hasn't caused any issues. I have too many things I need to start at the start of stream. Which must have allowed him to succeed in his exploits as he revived the Ushiramiya family in 1 generation. It was not the Konami code one, but thank you for making Kinzo speak really quickly for 2 seconds. Like last time. When was last time? Kinzo-nami. Wow, the caption got that pretty good from what I can see. But he remembers that. What did he shame himself with last time? Like, what happened last time? And is this portrait that we see here, is that the version that Kinzo had summoned before? Is that why she appears to be younger? Yeah, or is the question last time that Kinzo remembers last iteration? The servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. So we know that the original portrait, the one we saw in the first chapter, that Kinzo had commissioned, and he also has the same one but on a much smaller scale in his office. He had those commissioned several years ago. It's after Battler last arrived, but it's been at least a few years. Somewhere in probably like the 3 to 5 year range mark, which was at the same time that the Epitaph was created. This new one, we've only kind of seen it in like a flash like reference to it. We've never physically seen a character walk in front of it while it looked like that. Goda was the most enthusiastic. He'd been told to concentrate his efforts in particular on his work as a chef for the duration of the family conference, and had been made specially exempt from several tasks that servants normally must do, like making sure his chin didn't look like his bow tie. It seemed that Goda, who was a show-off, had a particular feeling of supremacy about that. He left the preparations of the inside of the mansion to Genji and the rest, and worked on preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Cannon, and they carried out various tasks. Yeah, no problem. And also no problem for the bow tie chin. His chin, to me, his chin looks like Peter Griffin's chin, if instead of it being two U's, it's like two like V's or like a W. It's sharper. It's worked out more. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the small hours of the night. It would have been odd for this year's conference to continue all the way into the next morning. So she had knocked out of consideration for the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. To bodies.
おはようございます。いらっしゃいませんか?
The room was cold, and it seemed that the conference had ended a long time before. Yes, I am happy, Sam says thank you. And we've surpassed 21,000 clicks, by the way. Yes, I saw it. On top of the table there was a tea set, from which they'd probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean them up. Cleaning away the tea was a servant's job, so if the family was too caring and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. Therefore, just doing this much for the servants truly was a pleasing act of kindness. As she approached the table to clean it up, she noticed that something like a memo had been left along with the cups. I hadn't zoomed in on it. I'm trying to understand what this is, honestly, from my phone. Ah, okay. I understand now. Thank you very much. At least it wasn't bagpipes. It had been placed together with the tea set, so naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant cleaning up, Shannon took it. Written on it was not a request, nor thanks for preparing the tea, just a single word. Shannon looked at it blankly and read it out loud. I have a feeling that 6 people are dead in the chapel, by the way. Let's find out. Is the chapel separate from the building? A small sound kept repeating over and over. It was a sound that would ordinarily have been trivial and insignificant. I hope I stop hearing it soon, then I could return to my doze, someone thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is that? Banging on the door constantly. As soon as she realized this, she woke up. Someone was knocking. She noticed that there wasn't just a knock, but a voice too.
Rosa-sama. Rosa-sama. おはようございます。
待って、今行きます。
It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it was still before 7. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this ominous premonition. Because Genji had been a familiar servant to Rosa since her childhood days, she opened the door a crack and answered, even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas. Do we get Pajama Rosa?
おはようございます。早朝から申し訳ございません。
何かあったの？
はい、実は礼拝堂に。
Okay, place your bets. So here's who we know is not in the chapel. Goda, he's making breakfast. Shannon, she's cleaning the dining room. Genji, because he is waking up Rosa. Those 4 people are alive. 6, oh, and Kinzo. Kinzo is not dead. 5 people are not alive, or are alive. I'm fairly certain Beatrice is not dead, and that battler is not dead. So that would be Rudolph, Kirei, Hideyoshi, Eva, Kraus, and Natsuhi. I think that's a pretty reasonable guess for who is dead. Nanjo and Kumasawa are also possibilities. George is probably still alive because she wants to kill him with Shannon. I don't see much point to having Jessica killed in the chapel, so I would tend to agree with you that Kraus, Natsuhi, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kyrie are all dead. Genji spoke into Rosa's ear and told her something in a small voice. It seemed that Rosa couldn't understand what she was being told after only hearing it once. After repeating the words back to him several times, she finally realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, and after changing her clothes, she immediately accompanied Genji as they headed to the mansion. I mean, murder is something strange, is it not? The chapel requires some explanation. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind the mansion which could be reached after a short walk. It had been built at the same time that the mansion had been constructed on Rokujima, so while its outside walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa and Genji dashed through the rain together. So, some information here. The chapel is not connected. It's in a grove. It is old. So, it's the same time as the main building, whereas the guest house is new. The guest house was built in the past 5 years. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. And it looks like it's a solid trail walk. Probably going to have footprints. We have not seen the letters. Eventually they begin to see the chapel beyond a sparse grove. Because Rosa never shared her letter, at least not with us kids, if she read it after the kids were kicked out of the dining hall. And in this time, Beatrice told Maria not to open her letter at dinner, but she said, there will be a time when to open it, you will know when. So this might be that moment. We might finally get our fan mail. If all she knew of it was its appearance, from the outside it might have felt like a place of dazzling beauty, where a pair of young lovers might want to hold a ceremony. However, it seemed that in Kinzo's eyes this was a very sacred place, and Rosa and her siblings had been told harshly not to approach it unnecessarily. So even at this age, and no matter for what reason, she felt some guilt in approaching the chapel, and was gripped by the fear that this would surely make her father so angry he would slap her across the face. Well, he's got to come see us if he's going to slap us. The servants' silhouettes could be seen in front of the entrance to the chapel. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon, which meant that all of the servants on the morning shift had gathered. A short while ago, Rosa had been told the nature of the situation verbally by Genji. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she really hadn't been able to understand. Probably all the servants gathered there were the same. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they couldn't understand what was going on. So the 5 of them... Okay. This is the same symbol we saw last time. Because on the door, that was the entrance to the chapel, drawn very large with a creepy, sticky, paint-like substance that made one think of blood, was something like a creepy magic circle. We gotta clean Delfino Plaza now, guys. The servants looked at each other. Goda was the first to open his mouth.
申し訳ございません。普段はここへは立ち入りませんもので、いつ書かれたのかはわかりません。
じゃあ最初に見つけたのは誰？はい。
食堂へお茶の道具の片付けに行きましたら、礼拝堂と書かれたメモがあったもので。
Shannon held out the memo with a shaking
誰の
hand.
字？兄さんや姉さんの字ではないわね。
So it isn't one of the older siblings' handwriting.
あなたはここへ来てこれを見つけたのね。
はい。
王座様、これを。
何？
Happy Halloween.
For...
Shannon was pointing at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she had thought it was just another part of the magic circle and hadn't noticed it. Written there in English were the words, Happy Halloween for Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. A wish for an enjoyable Halloween for Maria. Creepy magic circle for Maria. Happy Halloween for Maria. The only person who said the words Happy Halloween to Marie yesterday, the symbols matched. The Golden Witch Beatrice.
マリアは？あの子、いとこたちと一緒に寝てるはずよね。確認した？
申し訳ございません。マリア様のお名前が書かれていたことには今まだ確認しておりません。至急。
何やってんのよ。私はマリアの様子を見てきます。それからクラウス兄さんたちにも知らせて。
Guess what? They're
以後の
missing.
対応の指示を受けて。
After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was out of place. Her own rank within this family conference was the lowest of the 4 siblings. In an abnormal situation like this, why had she been the only one called when the other siblings hadn't? Even if Maria's name had popped up.
はい、旦那様にご連絡申し上げようとしたのですが、お姿が見当たらず。
奥様もお部屋におられません。シーツの様子からすると、昨夜はベッドに戻られていないのかもしれません。
Rosa felt something creepy crawling slowly up her back.
礼拝堂の中、確認した。い
え、まだです。確認しようとしたのですが。
実は礼拝堂の鍵は特別でマスターキーに対応しておりません。
So this is a direct correlation to the locked rose shed, where before there was a key to it that a servant might have. But in this case, they're saying the lock is so special, the servants themselves do not have a key to it.
一本だけある鍵でしか開けられないのです。その鍵が
There's one key for it, it's missing. The servants would normally have access to it, but it's missing. She didn't want to get any closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could help it. Rosa readied herself an approach and tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy
入
lock.
れる窓などがないか探してはみたのですが、もし中を確認するのでしたら窓を破らなければならないかと
So
思い
it's
ます。
a locked room. However, there is a key to it. That key is just missing.
いかがいたしましょう。
そんな許可、私に出せるわけがないわ。お父様の大切な礼拝堂なのよ。そんなことできないわよ。
Then the events of the previous day swirled around the back of Rose's mind. That's right. When I met that witch in the rose garden, didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Don't tell me the key's in this envelope. Don't tell me. Yes, I'm positive she did. When Maria had tried to open it, that witch had told her not to do that yet, and she definitely said the time will come to open it soon. Rosa became convinced. There could be no doubt. The letter which had been handed to Maria. Also, wasn't Rosa in the chapel last night? When Beatrice, asked all of them? Wasn't she one of the people there? After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin's room while hiding her footsteps. Softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores of young people. The 4 children were all there. Maria was there, sleeping soundly. After keeping a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. After was Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked walking around with her treasures. She was probably imitating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just copying her, so on the inside it was full of junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult-like items and a notebook with things written in it. Rosa hadn't once been happy to see her daughter walking around with those kinds of ungirlish things. However, after she tried to force Maria to stop, they'd gotten into a big fight, and she decided to let it be. What about the letter you got, Rosa? A western envelope with the crest of the golden eagle. Which, not the ochre. It's going to be all slimy. She took it out, she could tell that there was a heavy cylindrical object inside. You could tell by its feel and its weight. There was no doubt. It was a key. So now we've made it, quote, a locked room because there's one key that fits this lock. This key has been in this envelope, unless we believe the envelope's been switched or somehow opened and resealed. So this is the witch's way of saying, see, I could lock this door while we know the key was trapped inside this envelope. Key could have been copied as well. The question would be when, and how could you have taken the key, because I assume that you couldn't copy the key here, so you'd have to go off island, but do it in a way that people would notice the key is missing. Oh right, the lockpicking lawyer. Makes sense. Rosa tore open the envelope and tipped out its contents into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa grasped that key and dashed out. It seemed that Battler noticed those sounds, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again.
Genji-san, この鍵。ひょっとして礼拝堂の鍵ということは。
これをどこに？はい。これが礼拝堂の鍵です。
I think we're getting this as kind of Battler viewing it from an outside source. It'd be kind of unfair to him to not get all the information, all the clues, because he is a human with bodily functions. Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. The key goes in the square hole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped that resistance with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. You assume Beatrice's being. Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. Chapel had a high ceiling and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, for some reason it felt sacred. The servants timidly followed after Rosa.
ローザ様、あれを。
Anna noticed immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place where normally a pastor would preach of God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first it looked like a dining table, and there was actually gorgeous plates and utensils set on the table, enough to make you think it was a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. There were people seated at the table, 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Eva and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. Seems like we guessed the 6 correctly. They're not listed as dead yet, though. But if you were asked if these were definitely them, you'd still have to go even closer to check. Because they almost seemed like dolls. Rosa and the rest had opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out asking if anyone was there. Yes, exactly. And yet there had been no reaction. Even assuming they had chosen to ignore them, normally you'd expect there to be some kind of reaction. There hadn't even been that. At first it felt like someone had set down some dolls that looked a lot like them. By now it wasn't just Rosa, Shannon and Cannon, and even Goda. They're all fighting frantically against this rising creepy emotion tightly grasping their hearts. As she climbed up to the altar, she called out again, but still the others gave no reaction. Yes, by now Rosa had accepted it. They were not dolls. She'd accepted that those very people. They approached close enough to be able to see clearly what was on the table. Just like their first impression, it looked like a lovely banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. See, it is a birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, glasses with lovely drinks, several ornaments in the shape of pumpkins. They're all decorated in Halloween style, and while it might have been an irrelevant thought at a time like this, he thought that this would surely make Maria happy if she could see it. They were seated in front of that table. It looked like they were sleeping. It was an eerie scene, as though a small fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. When she approached even closer to them, she realized that candies were scattered all over the floor. There were candies in very fancy wrappings, cookies, fizzy lemon sweets, chocolates, and they were all distributed across the carpet, which was covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Rose and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party, a banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsuhi, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kyrie, 6 people in all, were seated in the chairs, dead as though they were sleeping. It sounded like we got a drop. And this time, instead of it being their faces, it's their guts. Direct cause of death is unknown. It seems his stomach was cut open and his intestines were pulled out after his death. Additionally, sweets and candies were packed into his stomach. Welcome, Maria. Happy Halloween. See, didn't I tell you bellies are full of candy? Everyone has a belly that's filled with sweet dreams. A belly could never be full of disgusting things. That's why we want to be simple and sweet like candy. So this dreamland is for you. Happy Halloween. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they were, from their chests to their stomachs, vertically sliced open.
なんてむごい。
The 6 of them were seated at a Halloween party, all of them killed with their stomachs sliced open. Was the jam that covered the floor something that they couldn't finish eating, which overflowed out of their stomachs? No. The contents of their stomachs had been splattered all across the floor. And that wasn't all. From their stomachs, almost as though they had spilled out sweets. Wow, flashing warning on that. Candies and cookies, fizzy lemon sweets and chocolates had spilled out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It was almost as though the insides of their stomachs had been stuffed full of sweets. When their stomachs had been cut, it had all flowed out. Rosa remembered a gross-out meal, a turkey that they had been served at her birthday when she was a young girl. When she'd put the knife in, from the inside, her very favorite, but because no one had told her about it at all, bright red ketchup omelet rice had poured out like blood-stained maggots. Blah, dripping, slimy, pulpy, sticky. Trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise up. Unable to hold back, she threw up on the floor. Her empty stomach couldn't throw up anything but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no longer a fun Halloween party by any means. The 3 couples had been placed there with their stomachs vertically wrenched open with the yuba. Lots and lots of sweets had been stuffed in there. Pulpy, puguru, bugyu. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet candy stuck to each finger, gummy, but it's stained with their entrails, sloppy, pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? That didn't feel like a candy, or a cookie, or a fizzy lemon sweet, or a chocolate. I'm so scared I can't even look at the bottom of my foot to see what it was I stepped on. What a gruesome Halloween party. Happy Halloween, Maria. From far away, it looked really beautiful, fantastical, and fun. When you see it up close, it's really terrible, disgusting, and yet still somehow beautiful. Rose's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. Word tied to reality like police hadn't come out of Koda's mouth. Rosa and the rest probably had been unable to escape this nightmarish party. But this wasn't because they thought that the police might be able to do something. They didn't say police out loud. It felt like another seat would be set up at this demon's party and given to them. It felt like their own stomachs were getting uncomfortably filled from the inside. Rumbling, churning, and it was surely because candy was starting to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa was again tortured by a desire to vomit, and threw up her stomach acid on the floor. Then she searched, to see whether there was any candy mixed in. Rosa coughed violently again and violently spat up the stomach acid that burned her throat onto the floor. She realized by now her whole body had become covered in filthy sweat.
源氏さんとシャナちゃん、お父様に連絡して指示を仰いでちょうだい。幸田さんはカノン君と一緒に行って警察に電話を。あと、南條先生に来てもらう。
Have Nanjo come here and what? It's way too late for medical care. The servant accepted their orders and dashed outside. Watching them leave, Rosa once again fixedly cast her eyes upon her siblings, who've been through life's joys and sorrows with her and their partners. Even though there could be nothing more tragic, for some reason their fantastical deaths tempted her to describe them as beautiful. I don't even know if they'll know where the shotgun is. There might not be a shotgun this time. Because Natsuhi knew where the shotgun was, but she's already dead.
どこに行っちまったんだろうな。
使用人室も厨房も空っぽだぜ。一体どうしちまったってんだ。
Isn't everyone glad that Maria's still alive?
弱ったね。バトラ君、本当にローザおばさんだったのかい？
まあ、俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが、明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきて、マリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。俺はてっきりマリアの手提げに歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って寝ぼけてて。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
Battler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room. Marie had woken up first and started rampaging around, saying someone had opened the envelope she'd been keeping safe. And so they'd started wondering whether Rosa might have come and opened it.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろ
う。わからないね。でも、あの封筒はおじい様が新書に使う後宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday Maria had bragged a lot about the envelope to Battler and the rest. So they remembered it well.
ジョージの兄貴の言う通りなら。しかし、そんな大事なものをどうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
The refreshing morning atmosphere had been completely wiped out by the occasional sounds of thunder. It's only natural. Since the time they'd woken up, they hadn't met anyone other than themselves. It felt like the mansion had become an empty husk, leaving only them behind. So, we haven't seen Kumasawa and Nanjo. We've seen the 4 servants, we've seen Rosa, we've seen the 4 kids, we've seen Kinzo. I guess we haven't seen Beatrice this morning, but, is Maria an item? After Jessica called out into the hallway, an answer finally came back. It was from the entrance hall.
聞こえますとも。何かありましたか？
南條先生だ。よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからな。
Okay, we'll see what we can do. Okay. So let's start with... Well, one I'm going to save in case I do actually break something. So... Thank you for Konami coding Nanjo. It was only natural Nanjo was a guest like the rest of them. Okay. You just now come to pass the time at the parlor until breakfast. Okay, control... I think is skip faster. Yeah. Maria buried her face in Nanjo's well-built stomach, sobbing and crying. They didn't have to call out Nanjo's stomach like that. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered at what was going on so early in the morning. So L advances text, okay. I'm myself going through and pressing a bunch of different keys. Especially ones that I know wouldn't normally be pressed. Actually, a lot of keys don't. So I just went through the top. So I went through tilde through plus sign, does nothing. Q through P row, including brackets and vertical pipe, do nothing. Backspace does nothing. Delete does nothing. Insert does nothing. Home does nothing. End, page up, page down. Escape. Oh, escape gives you the version where without text, so you can take a screenshot, pause and break. I don't have those on this keyboard. Tab does nothing. Shift does nothing. Caps lock does nothing. Oh, function, control. Do I have function B? I do. From down the hall that can sense good people running. Function B did nothing. Oh, I do have pause break. Thank you. The pause break does nothing. Scroll lock does nothing. What else have we got? F keys. F1 gives me an about screen that you guys can't see with the copyright. Oh no! Oh no! So you guys can't see this, so I'm going to have to screenshot this and put it in the Discord. But I think I might not like one of the creators of this game with the copyright. Let me just drop this in the Discord random channel. Or no, memes and media, I guess. Memes and media. If you take a look at that, there is something in there that is so I can only assume, because this is a mod, I can only assume that those are the like pseudonyms that the modders gave themselves that they wanted to be credited as. But Uncle Mion Sonozaki is just... Okay, that was just F1. We got a bunch of other F keys to try. F2... What does that do? F2 does nothing. F3 does nothing. F4 does nothing. I'm saving because I'm worried F5 is going to refresh everything or like load a save. F5 does nothing. F6 does nothing. F7 does nothing. F8 does nothing. F9 does nothing. F10 does nothing. F11 does nothing. F12 does nothing. Running out of keys. Center scroll wheel does nothing. Scroll wheel takes us back to this. L was very lucky. And then right click takes us here. I've got like thumb buttons. Thumb buttons do nothing on my mouse. Okay, I think we've exhausted all the buttons I can press. We did get a nice piece of information. Or I guess not nice piece of information. I don't have 8 buttons on my mouse to confirm that. When they looked, they saw it was code in. Okay. Okay, last one I can think of is pushing in mouse, center mouse wheel. Does nothing. Running inside the mansion should have been immodest for a servant, and yet Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing had become so unmanageable they wanted to ask someone, anyone, where Rosa was. But the two servants ignored Jessica as she waved her hand. But flew into the servant room, Kana, noticing that Nanjo was there, bowed and approached him at a quick pace and whispered something into his ear.
何ですってローザさんが。
はい、ご案内いたしますので、どうかご同行お願いいたします。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying anything more than that, Cannon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her, but he wasn't calm. As he dashed back to the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He had the telephone receiver in hand and was violently pressing the hook. From that they realized he was trying to call a hospital or the police. Or in any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred.
行ってみようぜ。
ママ、返して。マリアの手紙返して。それは黄金鏡への招待状なの。
They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Cannon and Nanjo. And then we realized. Cannon had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we should never have followed. I wonder if Alice didn't regret her excess curiosity when she dashed after the rabbit holding a clock.
ダメよ、入っちゃダメ、見ちゃダメ、ジェシカちゃん、ダメ。
And I think that is a good place to end for tonight. We finally have murders, and we had letter openings. Two important things that I'd hoped we would get to tonight. But yeah, it's really interesting seeing how the same locked room has been changed, whereas before the key was just kind of like there and anyone could have used it. This time the key has been put in a specific place that makes it essentially impossible without some kind of trick to have been used to lock this. But yeah, like I said, I will be back next Friday for more Umineko, and then I'll be off for 3 weeks after that, and for the 4th week, I will be here, just probably there won't be a stream on Friday. I will announce in Discord and on all my socials when that stream will be happening. I'm thinking possibly the Wednesday of that week. I think that is, which I can pull up the calendar. It's going to be like August 14th, something like that. Calendar. 13th. August 13th is a potential next time. After next Friday. I will be back in 7 days on the 18th. But yeah, until then, everyone take care, stay safe, don't eat too much Halloween candy. I will see you all again next time. Bye for now.